So we'll start recording. So I'd like to welcome everybody to this fourth class, the D class of the Corporate Challenge training. And just for future, recognize that we're going to have trainings on an ongoing basis for the Corporate Challenge for you and your staff. I am so excited, guys. I've been in practice 22 years, been around chiropractic a long time. And I have to tell you, this, what we're working on and what I've seen just in the last 3 or 4 months of opportunities that have opened up for us in our practice. And I'm just so excited to be able to share this information, have Dr. Eric on the line to share it with you as well, because I really think this is a game changer, and I think by the end of the webinar you'll see why as well. So this, as I said, this is the fourth class going through. What we're going to do is every other week we're going to be doing a training. Part of the training is going to be the clinical aspect of the 8 Weeks to Wellness Challenge, how the website works. We really want you guys to be the wellness authority in your community. And being a wellness authority doesn't mean you just have the brand on your clinic or you have the brand on your shirt when you go out to these places. It's really being a wellness authority and living the lifestyle. And you can't sell something that you don't own yourself. You can't sell something that you don't do yourself. Because to me, in my eyes, that's being fake. So, part of this process is hopefully that we all grow as chiropractors, learn more, so that we can then pass that on and become the wellness experts, the go-to people. I really think that obviously, I've talked about this from stage many, many years, but I really feel that we have a tarnished brand image. And being a third-generation chiropractor, I've dealt with this my whole life. But, if there's one big goal that I have in my lifetime, and that is for people to see the greatness of who we are and what we do as chiropractors. And I think when it comes down to the economics of what we can provide to this nation over the next 10, 20 years, being able to teach people how to live a chiropractic lifestyle, and the true implications of that in corporate America, not just in terms of absenteeism and getting people healthy, making sure they're not taking 4, 5, 6 different prescription medications, making sure that they're productive and happy. I had the unfortunate experience on Monday to have a patient come in, and her father, who's not my patient, 80 years old, blew his brains out because he was so unhealthy and just had no quality of life. And, it's just not, to me, I think about things like that, and I think, gosh, if that guy had been getting adjusted, maybe he wouldn't gotten to 80 years and had, the thought in his mind that, hell, what do I have to live for? So, that's the type of things that we see in corporate America as well. People aren't coming to work happy. They're not coming to work full of energy. We just hanging out with chiropractors, it's just always so cool because the chiropractic profession as a whole, we have great energy. We have, because of our lifestyle, we get to share with people who we are and what we do, and it has just such a profound impact on our lives, our families' lives, and then just being able to see that ripple into our practices, and now ripple into a corporate environment is really exciting for me. So I'm going to get started here. I'm going to move. Some of you guys probably have been on maybe a webinar or seen me speak, and I'm the type of person, I don't flip-flop a lot on my principles and my values, so I stick to some core values and principles. And one of them is the way that I develop my business, whether that's my chiropractic and wellness practice, or whether that's 8 Weeks to Wellness, or whether that's the Corporate Wellness Challenge. I believe in 4 concepts to build your business, and if you're taking notes, you really want to write this down. The first is you've got to attract believers. And I'll tell you, you show me a successful chiropractic practice, and I'll show you a successful chiropractic team. Okay, and in our practice, we have about 22, 23 employees between the chiropractors and the personal trainers that we have, and the massage therapists and the CAs. We have a lot of people that have to be managed. So anytime you're building an organization, it's really important to find out who you want on your team and to get the right people on your bus and get them in the right seats. It's also important to recognize that there's sometimes a difference between what patients come into your practice wanting, or when you go into a corporation, what that HR person is looking for and necessarily what you want to educate them on. We're going to talk about this a little bit later, but I really feel that we have to connect first. And connecting means connecting what's important to them. And by them, I mean, that may be your patient. What's important to them? What brought them in? It may be an HR director. What's some of the obstacles and challenges going on in that corporation that's really setting them back? And so many times I see chiropractors are so spizzed, they want to regurgitate chiropractic philosophy and principles, which is great. It just may be that they're not ready to hear that. And I can tell you with absolute certainty from the meetings that I've had, and I had a big meeting with my school district that I practice in with the head HR person. She was excited because I was able to resonate and connect with the issues that they were dealing with. they had their largest increase in healthcare expenditures, and they're self-funded. And so why? Because they're seeing more chronic disease, more chronic illness. And I was able to connect with her based on those challenges, not trying to tell her and teach her what subluxation is. Although I totally plan to do that down the road, there's just a time and a place. So attracting believers is really important. The next step is building the model. And, I always say first who, then what, who do you want on your team? But we also have to recognize there can't be two separate models. And by that I mean we need a good model that encompasses chiropractic as a foundation in the wellness model. And when Denise and I were developing 8 Weeks to Wellness, one of the things we always stayed true was that there shouldn't be two wellness programs. It shouldn't be like, okay, here's your chiropractic practice and here's your wellness program. Because to me, the two are so intimately tied together. How do you separate a chiropractic adjustment from proper movement in the spine or proper nutrition? So to me, it has to be integrated. And so when we developed this program, we really developed it so that chiropractic was woven into the corporate challenge. And every once in a while, Eric, I'm going to pause and come up for breath. If it's something you want to add, feel free.
Yeah.
The third one, guys, is absolutely critical for corporations, and I want you guys to hear this. Dr. Eric and I were at a very big symposium a couple weeks ago called Global Fit, and it wasn't chiropractors. It was a bunch of HR and basically people that were in the wellness field when it comes to ergonomics and also corporate wellness. So they had some of the top speakers who speak on corporate wellness. They had some of the top companies in our areas, biggest companies like Comcast, where their head HR people were speaking. And two of the things that they really talked about was, one, energy management. And I loved that concept. You want to write that down, energy management. And then the second concept was about biometrics, is being able to assess the person's physiology and find out what risk they are. I just read a study, it came out, that the average smoker in a company costs that company, between healthcare expenses and also lost productivity in terms of days lost, $6,000 a year. So think about that. The average smoker costs the company $6,000. Well, what about a person who's deconditioned? What about a person who's subluxated? What about a person who has metabolic syndrome? What's that costing a company? So I always use a quote, and I love this quote. It says, when you identify a problem, the solution becomes self-evident. And so part of our process with the 8 Weeks to Wellness Challenge is getting people to recognize that we want them to have biometric screening as a part of what we do. I feel that once we show how valid a chiropractic lifestyle is, and by that I mean that we can show them changes in their wellness scores, show them changes in their physiology, show them that, guess what, now their blood pressure is normal. They don't need to be on that blood pressure medication, or their lipids have become balanced, or their blood sugar is no longer in a diabetic range. Then we can start to really make some traction in these corporations to get people healthy, but also to save that company tons of money, which again is going to make you look like the hero. And then finally, the last thing is to build the brand. And there really, and Dr. Eric and I will tell you, we talk to a lot of people, and there truly is no well-established wellness brand. There's all these entities that we speak to that do corporate wellness, do biometric screenings, do online wellness platforms, but there's no leader when it comes to a brand that's doing it all. Okay?
Yeah, I even say, leading back to that too, is there's not really a philosophy defined. Mostly what we found so far is there's a lot of widgets. There's a lot of pedometers get stuck on people's feet. There's a lot of Biggest Loser-based programs, but that's kind of what's separating us, is that we actually have a philosophy. And one of the stories from Global Fit that I share is one of our 8 Weeks to Wellness doctors, Dr. Ray Kent, was with us, and there was an open forum where the top 5 experts that spoke that day were all sitting on a panel up on the stage with about 400 or 500 people there taking questions, and Dr. Kent basically brought up the question. He said very simplistically, can you give me a definition of wellness? And shockingly enough, all 5 professionals, pros, panelists basically looked down at the table and just started to chuckle, because they really had no definition of wellness, guys, because they don't really understand the concepts, because wellness is a flu shot. Wellness is a it's against pedometer. It's really bad what's out there, and that's really separating us, and that's what feeds our hunger, Dane and I, is the fact that seeing the 8 Weeks to Wellness model in office defined wellness for our community. We can definitely do this now for companies. It's just a matter of getting everybody up to speed on where we're at.
Yeah, and to me, wellness, guys, is a verb. It's not a noun. Wellness is a lifestyle. And it's interesting you say that, Dr. Eric, is on Tuesday when I sat down with the head HR director for our school district, over 3,000 employees. This was my 3rd meeting with her, but the very first meeting I had with her, I said, well, in helping you create wellness initiatives for the school district, what I'd like to know first is, what are you currently doing? And she looked at me and said, flu shots. The only wellness initiative that our school district, which is huge, $25 million budget every year, is flu shots. And I literally wanted to vomit in my mouth, because obviously, I don't even want to go down that road, but these HR directors, guys, and these insurance brokers do not know what wellness is, because they don't have an expert in their corner to help them define it, and then also define a delivery model for that, and that's what we're creating in this. And I've always loved this as a clinical model for myself personally in the way I take care of my patients, but I call it the Connect, Discover, Respond model. I stole it from Starbucks, from a book I read from Joseph Michelli. But he says, when you're in any type of a service business, which we are, we serve our patients, you want to first connect with people. Then you want to discover what the challenges are, and then based on those challenges, you want to respond. And so I look at that in a chiropractic practice as the consult, exam, and the report of findings. The consult is to find out the patient's healthcare challenges and their healthcare goals. The exam is to do a functional exam to find out where the chinks in their armor is, where their weak links are, and also to do a thorough evaluation. In our office, we do a wellness score and give people a wellness grade, and then a report of findings. And a report of findings in a corporate culture is to then identify what are those obstacles and challenges, and how do we come up with a program, i.e. an 8 Weeks to Wellness Challenge program, where it's high tech and high touch. We love that slogan, guys. You want to be able to use that in your languaging when you're speaking with HR directors, when you're speaking with brokers. High tech and high touch means that it's high tech. We have an online platform. One of the things that Christine, the woman I met with Tuesday, she was extremely impressed with our manual and extremely impressed with the program, because our first meeting, I entered her as a user of the 8WO Challenge software that we'll show you in a second. And I know in my heart that that's one of the things that sold her to continue to develop this relationship, where now, next year, we are developing specific screenings in the district that'll be voluntary, but still it's a start. And then at the beginning of next year, we're going to launch the corporate challenge to the whole district, again, on a voluntary basis. But just, again, imagine having access to your whole school district and be the main wellness guru, so to speak. I put this slide up here, guys, because, again, we have to speak their language. And, it's kind of interesting, Eric, because I do a lot of travel internationally. And, when I go to a different country, I always feel a little guilty that if it's a language I can't speak, that I can't speak that language. And, I would love to, when I go to countries, be able to connect with people and speak their language, because I'm in their country, right? And so many times a chiropractor goes into a corporation and, they're not speaking what the person, the HR director, or what that insurance broker or what the decision maker, that what they want to talk about, guys, is how do we get our corporation healthier? How do we lower and reduce healthcare expenses? How do we boost morale? How do we boost people's energy? Again, energy management. And I'm telling you guys, if you can understand this concept of metabolic syndrome, it gives you a platform, a very simplistic platform. And I again, use this all the time with these brokers, because they've heard of it, but they don't truly understand it, and it's not that difficult to understand. Some of the quotes that Dr. Brad shares with you guys through CSK is that obviously obese employees have 30 to 50% higher healthcare costs. 1/3 of employees' cancer claims are linked to poor nutrition, physical activity. Employee turnover is 40% greater. And again, I don't have to go over this, guys. We know that an unhealthy employee is going to have greater absenteeism and decreased presenteeism, production in the corporation. But again, how do we define that? And metabolic syndrome is such a great way to define that, and it's made up these 5 criteria that you really need to memorize. Because I use this in my practice all the time. Matter of fact, I have this poster size printed up and framed in our exam room, and I'm always languaging this with our patients. But you'll see at the bottom of that slide, it says people with metabolic syndrome are at significantly increased risk for developing diabetes, cardiovascular disease, as well as increased mortality from all causes. If that's the only quote you share with these HR directors, guys, and these brokers, they're going to take that seriously, because what's costing them a lot of money? Cancer, diabetes, heart disease, right? And that's also what's lowering productivity as far as their workers as well. Okay, one of the things that we've developed with the CSK and the 8WW Challenge program is a wellness score. So again, these companies want biometrics, guys, and we're able to supply that to them. So we literally can supply them with what I'm showing here is a metabolic syndrome wellness score or metabolic syndrome screening, where we can go in, and that's what we're going to be doing, by the way, next year. We're going to be doing a metabolic syndrome screening. Instead of flu shots, we're actually going to have the employees come in and we work with LabCorp. We have a national account with LabCorp. So LabCorp will come in. We'll have a bunch of doctors at the different schools. We're going to do one at a high school, one at a middle school, and two at elementary schools in the beginning of the year. And we're going to set up these wellness screenings. So the only two metrics that we'll have to measure is BMI and waist measurement. I'm sorry, that's not true. This isn't exactly metabolic syndrome, guys, because metabolic syndrome is blood pressure and waist circumference. So those are the two non-laboratory findings for metabolic syndrome. So it's waist measurement and it's blood pressure, and then the 3 labs will be done by LabCorp. We'll put this into our software and be able to consult with every employee to let them know their risk. And the more parameters you have, the higher your risk for developing heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and mortality from all causes. Again, another study, guys, you should have in your back pocket and know off the top of your head is the EPIC study. And the EPIC study was done on 23,000 people. Again, I've shared this with many of you guys, but it's just awesome. You know, 4 simple behaviors they looked at: not smoking, exercising 30 minutes a day, keeping your BMI under 30. So they said, listen, we don't expect you to be underweight, like under 25, or even under obese. You know, we just don't want you being over obese, right? So we don't want you to be over 30, and then eating a healthy diet. And when they looked at people who followed those 4 simple rules, okay, they prevented 93% of diabetes, 81% of heart attacks, 50% of strokes, and 36% of all cancers. And by the way, if you guys are doing healthcare classes and you don't have this slide in your healthcare class, you should, because this is a chiropractic lifestyle, right? I always say, what if they added adjustments to those 4 simple behaviors and made them 5 simple behaviors? You know, I think those outcomes would have been even greater. Okay, we already talked about this, and Eric, I don't know if you want to touch on this at all, but I have to give a shout out to Dr. Eric. I love working with Dr. Eric. He's one of the brightest minds that I've ever worked with, and because not only is he bright in his common sense about chiropractic, because I feel like a lot of people sell out. They sell out the chiropractic part, and Dr. Eric's never done that, and he really understands the science of chiropractic and how that fits into a wellness lifestyle. But on the other side of that coin, what Dr. Eric has that Dr. Brad and I don't necessarily have, and this is, again, back to attracting believers, getting somebody on our bus like a Dr. Eric gave us that high-tech part to develop out some resources we're about to show you that I know with absolute certainty Dr. Brad and I couldn't have done this without Dr. Eric. So, Dr. Eric, thanks to you.
You got it, man. No problem.
So, Dr. Eric, I'll let you take over with this slide here. And Brad, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm on. I just was going to second that. I think the high-touch component is what chiropractors in general were really good at, but what we needed in this portal was the high-tech, because that's what a lot of these places were looking for, and that's what they wanted. And obviously sitting down with Eric and kind of putting this thing together, it gives us both. And really what it gives chiropractors now is something else to come to the table to offer companies. But what's nice is right now this is number 1 on their list. They want some kind of online high-tech component, but what they don't typically get it with is the high-touch. And if you look at high-tech, high-touch, how important that is yes, people can be self-driven, but if you, the chiropractor, are going to the company to actually talk, administer, and always move these people, the key here is to move them from awareness to action. That's what high-tech and high-touch does. So high-tech is kind of the high awareness. High touch is the action, and the action here is becoming a new patient. This thing is brilliant, and I'm really excited to see this many people in this group because the leverage it gives you is huge. It's easy to offer people what you guys want to offer them, but what's really nice is this is what they want. So the companies want this for their employees. They want some kind of high-tech component, and we really couldn't have done it without Eric building this thing out and having the knowledge. You put these things together, man, it's just like rocket fuel. So I won't hold you up anymore, Eric, but definitely give you a shout out because this component is huge, the high-tech part. And when you guys really learn and see the depth of this program, it'll blow you away.
Yeah, and I just a second on that. I look at this like a key, Brad, and Brad knows and I know that when you talk to these HR directors and brokers, guys, initially they kind of look at you with one eyebrow raised because they're like, all right, who's this chiropractor and what are they trying to sell me? But when you show them the tools and resources that we've created, like the manual, the HR packet, the online platform, man, let me tell you, that eyebrow goes down real quick, and they say, man, this guy's for real or this gal's for real.
Yeah, and that's it leads us in a good part with Brad was just following up too. And Brad termed it a leave behind, and that's kind of how I built the program. I thought it from a leave behind standpoint because he basically meant like you get in. We were getting in there for lunch and learns. We've been CSK docs for probably 2.5 years now with Brad, and we were doing a lot of talks, and we didn't really talk about it in the beginning, but we were actually getting paid to do these talks, leaving and then coming back and seeing nothing change. And Brad brought up the concept of a leave behind, and that's what charged me ahead was what can we leave behind that's going to be almost like a drip education system for these companies that's basically going to drip chiropractic wellness into their brains and then being matched up with a dynamic speaker like one of you guys, a CSK WW doc that's going to kind of fortify that message. And that leads us up to the authority ladder here that we put together. And basically going to let you see an arrow going up. It talks about building relationships and quantity and quality. And the relationships are between you and your patients. And the whole goal of CSK for us was to get us into the doors of companies, just like it is for you guys, to basically to get our message out to more people. And that bottom rung there says negative 10% is what me and Dane were talking about at the beginning, where we have some negative brand equity. When we sat down with our original insurance brokers 2 years ago, they kind of were hesitant working with us because they were worried about us coming in and talking about ergonomics and work comp and all these things that are going to possibly drive pricing up in the company versus saving them any money. So we had to kind of fight through that stereotype a little bit and then start getting into some of the things you listed on there. Police and fire we got into, insurance brokers. The CSK key was awesome. It led to a lot of lunch and learns, to setting up some health fairs, which turned into a big one for us because we scored one of our insurance brokers from a health fair that we had put together. And then obviously our in-office route talks. But then after a while, we kind of hit a block there. And the block was basically the fact that we were getting FaceTime with 10, 20, 30 people in a company and maybe closing 20, 30% and sometimes, maybe coming home with 3 patients, maybe coming home with 6 or 7 people enrolled. But then we were kind of stuck with having to go back again. And it was okay, but like I said, after a while, we go to the same company, to the same message. It kind of got a little bit redundant and a little bit time-consuming for us. So then we'll go ahead, next slide for me real quick, Dane, for me. There it is. So now as soon as we took the lead behind...
Hey, I want to validate that real quick too, Eric, because one of the things we've been known for is doing lunch and learn talks. And we'd go in there and do the talks, and year after year, it was kind of like, well, what else do you offer? And it was like, well, we could do another talk. You know what I mean? And it was kind of like, man, I need something more here. So I don't want to break your stride, but that's where this makes perfect sense because now you can offer them exactly what they want. But it's actually something that's going to dress you up a little differently. So when you go back and deliver your talk, it's like right on point. So as much as I love doing talks, there comes a point at which you can only talk so much before it's like, all right, what else do you have to move the needle? And this is definitely going to move the needle.
Yeah, and to clarify, too, is your lunch and learns are still your primary portal of entry. I mean, they're still the ones you're trying to get scheduled in for. That's the leveraging point. When I sit down with my HR and I sit down with my insurance brokers, I still let them realize that the affordable part of the wellness program is just me getting in there to do the lunch and learn initially. So we still want you doing lunch and learns because lunch and learn should be your primary vehicle. But then we want you to plant that egg, that little secret egg that's going to start launching a lot of different information to the company through the website. That's where the high-tech part comes in. It allows you to disseminate information over a period of time, which leads us up to the next couple of rungs here, the 25% and above, is that now you're able to get the larger groups also. So instead of sitting in front of 30 people, now you're getting your message into 100, 200, 300, maybe 3,000 people in a company down the line to where they're going to start seeing that message of chiropractic wellness dripped out in front of them. And the tools we've integrated into the program, which we'll go through in a second, are going to allow you to start creating relationships on larger scales by creating that authority through email systems, through a forum, through a lot of different ways that can start to know who you are. A big part of us too now is the incentivization aspect. Allowing you guys to put some incentives up. I sat down with a couple of doctors this past week and I said, guys, that were getting ready to start a company up. I said, how can we create touch points? How can we get them to want to come into your office to see what you have to offer? And that's a big part of our program too on the back end is we help you guys with a lot of these pieces to really give you our expertise on how to leverage your office and what you can supply for them to get them into your office and be front and center. And it could be something as easy as a support lecture every Thursday night in your office. You might be running a health lecture or a WOW or something currently, and you would just have this run side by side with it and say, hey, every week there's a support group, come on in, and just start booking 10, 20 people from the company to come through just to kind of see who you are, again, because that's that high touch. Again, that's what we're going to ask of you guys going through this Group D session is that you're going to have to go through the program, the 8 Weeks to Wellness Challenge, and do the portal, do the questions, do the quizzes, so you get to learn the program and see if it's something that you guys gel with. And then the expectations for this program for us guys as we scale it up more and more and keep adding more pieces is that we want to get practice makers. We want to get these companies where there's 5,000 people employed, and you're the doctor. And that means no marketing for you for a long time, because I'm not sure about you, but we start about 40 to 50 new patients up a month, and that's 600. So you're looking at 5 years worth of new patients if it's done right. So I can't wait to hit that grand slam.
And so, one of the things you said that a couple things, Eric, was one, guys, remember that you are competing with other nutritionists. There's companies are actively, and Brad knows this better than anybody, they're actively seeking somebody to help them with their wellness initiatives. And, so again, you're competing with other chiropractors, you're competing with nutritionists, you're competing with these online portals. And how about you coming in with the total package?
Yep.
Coming in with being able to do the lunch and learns, being able to do the biometrics, being able to do an online program, and being the doctor to help to facilitate people. I mean, if I'm an HR person, that's pretty attractive to me.
If I can jump in real quick, too, one of the things I would mention is, as you offer this program, and it's 8 weeks long, it gets great results, and people go through, it's pretty much self-paced. The work that Dana and Eric have done on putting this together makes it super easy for them to use. Doesn't mean it's a simplified program. It's actually very adept in the 3 parts of chiropractic. But the key component that makes this thing go is the live health talks. So docs, you're going to go in there and facilitate the talks. The difference is, and this is a key difference, is that you're now an asset to that company. You're helping them focus on measurable numbers to bring down the metrics to make the workplace healthier. You're not a solicitor. So what's key is, as you present this, you're an asset to the company. You're basically the company doctor. And so as Eric's talking about this high touch and running in, simultaneous programs and other workshops, the whole point is, as these people get to feel you and have rapport with you and trust you, and you're already the company doctor, it doesn't matter what your fee is. It doesn't matter what your recommendation is. You're the person they're going to see. And that is so different than being a solicitor where you go into a place, you got one shot to make it work. This is something where you're building rapport, you're an asset. So understand the exchange on this really is the connection you're making with the company, and the talks obviously are going to generate new patients, but you're going to have multiple opportunities in this setup to get your new patients, not just one time. So it really takes the pressure off the presenter, because you're going to get to go there at least a few times the way we've organized this.
And that leads into what we want to talk about, and that's such an important point, Brad, because I know in doing my talks, the first talk, people kind of look at you, they don't know you too well, but when you come back and you're doing a second talk, or in this case, you're coming back at week 4 and then a week 8, well, then they get to trust you, they get to know you, they're asking you questions. So you may not get that new patient on the first visit when you're doing the orientation. Maybe they're doing the challenge program. But the next time you go out, say, well, there's that Dr. Brad again, there's that Dr. Dane again. So I find it's the layering effect of doing these multiple presentations, like Dr. Brad said, being the company doctor, looking at what I would call the go-to person in that company when you have a challenge. And so recognize that in the challenge program, we've basically, because we've done 8 weeks to wellness in our practice, and we've really had a lot of success clinically over the 10 years we've been doing it, we basically mapped out 8 weeks to wellness, what we would call an 8 light version. So, for example, obviously the orientation education is an aspect of it. The assessment, doing the biometrics. And again, based on what the company needs, we can include blood work. It could be as simple as something as BMI and waist measurement. So it could be a very light biometric screening, or it could be a very in-depth biometric screening. The personal training and functional fitness obviously is a really key component. That's scripted in the program. We'll show you that. The nutritional program will show you that. That's scripted in the program. It's a very paleo, low glycemic index, what I would call Mediterranean-based diet. We recommend massage therapy. Chiropractic care is recommended in the manual. You'll see it's very integrated into what we teach. And then obviously the meditation instruction we'll show you in just a second. But what we tell the employees, guys, is that we consist of 168 hours. So we're going to ask them for 5 to 6 hours of their time to dedicate to the program. And all of that is really built into the orientation, what we teach them. And just recognize, guys, that, Brad and I and Eric, we reached into our pockets a lot to develop this. Developing a web portal and spending the time to develop this, it costs a lot of money. I just wrote one of the checks out yesterday to our programmer. So this is no charge to you. If you're an 8 Weeks to Wellness doctor or you're a CSK doctor, this is part of what you're paying Dr. Brad and I to be a part of our team, so to speak. So there's no extra fee. And then also when you sign someone up, you're going to make 15% of what the corporation pays for the program. So and again, there's price breaks based on volume. So again, if let's say you go to a company over 100, it's only $99 per employee to get that rolling. So let's say it's 100 people at $100 is $10,000. You make $1,500, but the real value, guys, is not only are you making $1,500 that we send you a check for, but now you're the go-to person in that corporation to get new patients. And when those new patients come in, we're not going to ask you for any percentage of that. Okay, we're not asking you for 15% of what you make on the new patients, but we are going to pay you 15% of what we make from the corporate challenge itself. Okay.
Yeah, and I think the bottom line there is what this really was set up for too, is to generate new patients. So the currency is new patients. And if you wind up with 20 new patients from a company and the average new patient is worth $2,000, there's your payment, and you're never going to make more money as a chiropractor than having patients in the office, really having people come through your doors. So as much as people maybe get into the idea of having 100 people and having access to them and all the great and wonderful things, the bottom line is we know this changes the register for you when they walk in your door. So everything we've built into this is to create new patients. That is the currency. If we can drive in 15 new patients because of this program and what it opens up for you that otherwise would have been closed, we've yet to have anybody complain. So just kind of keep your eye on the ball with that one. Focus on the new patients that are going to come out of this. But the way you can sell this product is only if you own it. So that's why I'm going to turn this over to Eric. But you've got to be a product of the product. You have to go through the 8 weeks. You have to know what the videos say. You have to answer the quizzes. So as you present it, there is no easier way to answer whoever's asking the questions if you've done it yourself. You've had the experience. So you don't have to be coached or prepped or scripted. We're just going to have you do it. It's the simplest way to get through it. Own the material, because you can't sell what you don't own. And then as you present it, you'll sound like an authority. And again, the bottom line is you're going to get new patients from this.
Cool. Eric, do you want to take everybody? You want me to take people through the site, or would you like to take them through the site?
You can start going through since you have control, so you know pretty good. I'll interject where I have to, and some points I really want to make too.
Okay, guys. So just recognize this is the main URL for the challenge. It's 8WW Challenge, and you'll see that people obviously need a username and password to get into the challenge. But there's also, this is where you want to drive your HR directors, your brokers, because there's a Learn More tab. And you can literally even embed this tab into an email. So if I click on this, you could take this sales page, copy it, right, and put it in an email. And it's really cool. We developed this with Dr. Brad, and we also have a printed resource of this. When we talk about the HR packets, and many of you guys have seen that, this is what we take. Like, so when I went to the school district, I had an HR packet and a manual that I gave to the HR, to Christine. So there's a lot of cool stuff on here, our mission statement, our service menus. And again, if you're a CSK doctor, this is going to look very familiar to you. As a wellness champion, we can run a personalized wellness score for the corporation. We can do a company-wide health fair. We can do the Lunch and Learn talks, or bam, we can do the 8 Weeks to Wellness Challenge. So there's a ton of stuff that we can do. It also has a form fill here where the HR director will fill out their information, and then they can click send, and an email will get sent to Dr. Eric for him to follow up on your behalf with the HR director or the broker. Okay, understanding the return on your investment. This is a great article, guys. Take the time to read this. This was in the Philadelphia Inquirer on what is the return on investment when a company invests in a wellness program. How to get started. How do you get started with the challenge? It's all explained right here. And then we even have testimonials that they can read through patients that actually went through 8 Weeks to Wellness and some of the changes they've seen in their biometrics and in their labs. And if you can just click on one of these and actually pull it up, guys, and read through the letter. But these are pretty impressive testimonials. Okay, and then I'm gonna log in here, guys, with my username so you guys can see the back end. Now, because we're admin, this will probably log me into the WordPress site, and I'm going to just log right in. And so, obviously, you guys as doctors or the employees would not see the WordPress site, so it's going to bring you into a screen here. And the first thing that the employee is going to see is a Getting Started email. So, Eric, do you want to just explain that real quick?
Yeah, whenever we enroll somebody in a process, we'll be basically get an email list from the company, and I'm going to fire them through our content management resource manager. And what it's going to do is generate two emails. One is a login for the site itself, and then one is a nice, really nice introduction to the Corporate Challenge program, which has some basic links, has a goal setting area. It's got two basic metrics of waist to hip and BMI integrated in there, so it kind of gives them a starting point and kind of a how-to. Also a getting started step 1 through I think 4 steps right now to kind of get started on the program. But the first thing it's going to draw them to is the orientation. And Dan, go ahead and click on the orientation. The orientation is a 42-minute video. It's the only long video in the program. All the rest of the videos are about 4 to 7 minutes in length. But one of the key things with our AB's Wellness in Office program is that everybody has to go through the orientation. It's the time where we have them one-on-one, where we can actually get our message across to them, because, you know, like Brad speaks with the CSK, we're breaking down a straw man, and we had to rebuild it back up again. So we can't do that in a 4-minute video. So we put this video together, Dane and I. It's actually, we shot it twice. So we wanted to get more information in there and at a better time rate, because we really have to really shift the paradigm for that employee, because, again, they're thinking about diseases, they're thinking about flu shots. So we got to work our whole way through from being reactive to proactive, and we do that really well. That'll be the first piece you're going to watch. When you're done the video, you're actually going to have 3 questions to answer in order to get to week 1. So Dane, there's a move better, there's a think better, and an eat better question. And Dane knows all these. They're in the videos, guys, so when the person watches the videos, they'll be able to answer it. Click here. Just redirect back into home. Good. That'll drive them, because Dane's as an admin, it'll drive them back to this page where they're only going to see week 1. So you guys can see week 2, week 3, week 4. They won't be there unless the person answers the quizzes at each week. So right now, Dane's in an admin again, so he can see all those. So week 1 is a move better, so go ahead and click on move better. And each week we break out concepts of exercise that we've encouraged people over the past 9 years of our program to engage in our practice. Now, we do a very functional fitness model, so it's not a push-pull, it's not a aesthetics-based bodybuilding. It's all geared towards chiropractic and functionality. It's probably the most parallel, tied-in program for fitness and chiropractic that I've ever seen put together. A lot of postures involved. This first piece is all about posture. Are you surviving your desk? And you guys might have the de-evolving poster. We use the de-evolving poster in this talk. Dane was down a little bit further. There's some action steps. So Dane, do me a favor, scroll down real quick. The action steps are really the key to the program. It kind of directs them on where to go to next and what they need to do. So Dane, do me a favor, go ahead after the manual real quick, just so you guys can see the embedded manual in the program. We've actually embedded the manual into the actual website, so you don't have to purchase the books. Now, we do sell the books separately, but we do actually have it in here. It's a virtual reader. It's also a piece of technology I've seen on some other websites I integrated. It's a full manual. It's 102 pages long. There's everything. If Jane kind of scrolled through pretty quick, but the first piece is chiropractic. And the first piece we leave out with is how to understand chiropractic and the safety pin cycle, and our health is, you know, being interpreted through our spines at all times. Now back into the recipe sections, our low glycemic indexes. I mean, it's a wealth of knowledge. It's the piece that I know from being with Dane for the past 4 years inside of the AB's Wellness practice is really the Bible. It's the life force of the program, because all the knowledge is there. And then where Dane's at right there is the actual journal where someone's tracking all their meals or tracking their exercise. If Dane, scroll down a little bit, you can see the exercises in there. Their sleep is being tracked. Their water consumption is being tracked. I mean, there's a lot of nice pieces in there that really tell us. Now, this was the hardest part to replicate. I'll tell you the truth, guys, was the accountability piece. Because when you're in our office, you're really with us about 4 or 5 days a week, between the in-office training, between the massage, the chiropractic. So there's a lot of accountability. So that was the big part for getting you guys involved, is how we do that. And Brad kind of hinted to it a little bit. But what we ask of you, doctors, is that you're going to be doing a week 1, a week 4, and a week 8 talk during the program to support it, because you will be the accountability piece. That's going to be the really important part. And then also we have an email system I'll show you in a second as soon as we answer the quiz. So go ahead back to Move Better.
And by the way, guys, you can download that manual too.
Yeah, and I'm going to just jump in real quick too, because one of the questions we were getting a lot of from HR directors and the brokers, so there's all these different weeks. That manual really is the Bible. It's phenomenal, the depth that Dana has poured into that thing. It's truly been his blood, sweat, and tears. But again, from my mindset and the marketing piece of this, it also gets you in, because there's nothing else that needs to be purchased. Because, get a load of this, It's iPad compatible, Android, iPhone. I mean, every device that you could download this on, people can do that now. So that's one of the reasons we keep paying Eric so many kudos, is he found a way to get this through with a programmer to where people can pull it up on whatever device they sit down with after work, and there's no excuses. There's no extra cost. I mean, this program is brilliant because it's like rock bottom dollar for maximum value. And if the HR director says, well, what other things do we need to buy? You know, it's downloadable. Well, what's it compatible with? Well, it's Android and iPad and iPhone, and it's like, holy shit, if you understand the programming side of that, that's phenomenal because now it's all inclusive. Nobody's excluded. So again, the genius that Eric's put into this makes the rest of us look really, really good.
Yeah,
so there's related. I just covered the related resources real quick. I don't spend a lot of time on it, Eric, but I just want to show people that there are these downloadable PDFs for the employees, guys, whether they're doing their workouts at home, their mobility part, because we basically have a 4-part functional fitness model. It's cardiovascular endurance, it's mobility training, stability training, core strength, and then finally overall strength training. So all of that is built into these related resources.
Yeah, and you can download those guys. Those home workouts, gym workouts, they're downloadable, and they're also, again, app-based, so iPhone and Android-based too. You want to do recipes?
Yeah, just real quick to show you guys the other modules. So let's say Monday they're doing their Eat Better module. Now they come back, it's Wednesday. Or they've done the Move Better module. It's Wednesday. They're going to do Eat Better. There's a couple recipes they can download here, guys, and try. And we talk about that in the videos. That we want to get people back into their kitchens, back into eating real food. Stop eating out so much. We give them an access to Metagenics to order really high quality fish oils. Or if they want to order the meal replacement shakes, they can do that as well. They don't have to do that, but it's there for them. And then the Think Better portion, let's say that they're going to do that Thursday or Friday, they have a download, again, a really cool video, guys, where we talk about some cool stuff about being happy. What is it? You know, what are the components of a fundamentally happy person, right? What are the action steps? They can download their meditation. Like Brad said, it's iPhone compatible. So let's say they're on their iPhone. They want to do this at lunch. It's a 10-minute meditation. It really gels with the program, too. Teresa, who actually put this together for us, really did her homework, and she really talks about some other things that they should be doing on the program when she's doing their meditation. And then finally, there's a quiz at the end of the week, guys. So once they answer their 3 questions, obviously the questions are related to the content. So they answer their Move Better question, Think Better question, Eat Better question. And the cool part that Dr. Eric was alluding to earlier is that they don't see week 2 or week 3 until they complete that quiz. And a very cool thing happens when they complete the quiz. An email gets sent to the HR director within the company. That is the main go-to person in the company. And an email also gets sent to you that Mary Jones completed week 1 of the program. And Dr. Eric, you call that permission marketing, and I just think this concept is brilliant.
Yeah, I get about, for right now, because I've been doing a lot of the technology, we started a company about 117 up, so I get a lot of those emails back, and it just amazes me the amount of energy and force an email can deliver when you just fire it back. And basically, it's a very general email. It just says, Brad Galacki completed week 1 with these 3 questions. They were all correct. And I just fire back a real quick reply. And I usually just carbon copy it for myself, and I just put in there, hey, how's the low glycemic carbs doing this week? Or how's the meditation doing? How's the big one this week, or week 4 for a lot of people? How's meditation doing? And I just get back some of the best pieces from people. Just, oh, this program is excellent. I'm losing 20 pounds. I feel great. My mom's better. My dad, everybody's better in my house. It just opens up a wealth of communication that you're getting branded as their leader now, because you're providing them with the information. Again, developing trust. It was mentioned earlier, it's all about trust, and that's where these emails help deliver that. Also, Dane, go ahead and click on the resources. There you go. Go right through the users list so we can see where that's at. I'll show them Technologent on there. And the company I was referencing to, Technologent, go ahead and open them up. These are all the companies that we're currently working with. There's Techno. So as soon as a person graduates, the role where it says week 3, week 4, week 3, week 4, these guys are all in their 3rd and 4th week currently. In order to be deemed the winner of the challenge for the company, they're being judged by completion rate. So look at that completion rate, guys. Everybody's in 3, 4. That judge right there is costing his company actually 1 point every week he doesn't do his quiz. So we've actually gamified this whole process with this company, and they're absolutely loving it. We did a very basic wellness score of just waist to hip and BMI, and then what we call a corporate completion rate. They have to complete the weeks. So yeah, it's been awesome so far. You can actually, if you go hover over the email itself, you can actually email straight from here. So go over the email address. There you go. So if he clicked on that, he could actually open up his email content Outlook, and he can send an email right to him. So if someone's slacking,
Like this
or
guy,
let's say-
this Polish guy here. Brad, what's
Yes.
up with these Polish people? He's still in the orientation.
Typical.
Jeez.
Look at this guy.
There you
But
go.
you know what's funny is this particular company is the one that we started right down the street from my office. And the docs, you guys have access to how we got them started, what we said, what we did. That's in a lot of the training modules. But what's so cool is when we got in there, they actually have 5 different locations out of state. So what we did, and some of you are on this call, we placed you in these companies out of state to run this program. So what started out as a local company for me has grown into out-of-state companies that other doctors now, whether you're AWW or CSK, we've plugged you into. But isn't that the ratio we should be in, and isn't that the mindset, which is we have companies that need us, and we should be servicing them with the need of chiropractors instead of chiropractors saying, oh, my God, I need companies. No, the truth is these companies are looking for us. That's the dichotomy there. It's so crazy. So, you know, and Eric's doing a great job of running and facilitating this. But when we got into this company, it was one of those things we looked around and it was like, hey, who do you have in Dallas and who's in Denver and what do you have out in Nebraska? And what's cool is we've been able to plug in doctors in every single location who are now getting new patients. I mean, that's the brilliance of this is it really is going to open up your eyes, I think, as a doc, that they're looking for you. You know, they're looking for these programs. You shouldn't have to be hunting for it anymore. When they find you, it's like eureka. They are so excited. And then, yeah, 117 people, and this company's taking it seriously, man. They're going full throttle. It's awesome. And they send me thank you emails. And the truth is, Eric's pretty much running it. He runs it online, and they send me thank you notes. And guess what? All I do is collect my new patients. You know, like how genius is this for you guys to be able to step into because Eric makes you look like a rock star? That's the brilliance, I think behind this is that you can continue being a chiropractor and running this really well because Eric is so solid online. He's got your back on this.
And so what you're looking at now, guys, real quick, is the resources, right? So recognize that this is not a tab that an employee would see, but because we're admin or you're a doctor, we're going to give you presentations. So you say, hey, I need an eating better presentation, or I'm going to a school and I want to do a lecture on, accelerating student learning, or I want to do a lecture to an HR broker. You know, these are lectures that we've done. They're tried and true. They work. Okay, so we give you those lectures. The other thing that we do is we have marketing in here. So like if you're going out and you want to do a health fair workshop, right, we give you these, or a lunch and learn flyer. We also have a corporate challenge flyer like when you're doing the kickoff orientation that you can send to the HR person. They can e-blast out to everybody when you're initially doing it. So we built these resources in here. And the other thing I want to show you is this resources and training tab. You'll see, again, there's documents. Don't get overwhelmed. You know, we're going to be kind of going over this as we do the training. But the 2 things that absolutely need to be completed is this one. The first one, the HR, the doctor's profile. If you want us to call on your behalf, if you want to run this program, this has to be filled out and sent to Dr. Eric because we have to know about you, your office, what services you provide, all of that, and all of that's in the profile with the fax number where it gets sent to. Okay, and then the other thing that we're looking for anybody facilitating is we're looking for completion rates. So just like the company guys, we can see whether they completed the program. Well, guess what? We can see whether you completed it or not as well. So if you want to represent this brand and you want to represent this program, we want to see that the doctor at least, you know, and I'd love to see the staff as well, is completing this online challenge. And then finally in the resources, guys, we've created an online store for you so that you can order those HR packets that we talked about or manuals. So again, we put together an insurance broker package that we'll talk about here at the end. We're going to be doing a seminar just on focusing on brokers, but this is huge, guys, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but you need to have these resources in your pocket so that when you go and you have a big meeting that you have the resources that are going to make you look good.
Cool. Just to kind of reiterate that real quick, what Dane was saying is that we're going to roll everyone that's currently on in Class D with your emails. We should have them from our go-to meeting. We'll register you, but we do need to have that form sent back. 'Cause in other words, we got to get them registered first and get to that access site. So we'll get you guys registered, whoever's on the call now, and actually about 48 of you guys listed. We'll get you guys registered in so you guys can go through. You will not see everything that Dane's seeing currently. Like, you won't see the users list yet. You're going to do a few weeks Just basically watch the videos, answer a few questions, and then we'll get you up to speed. And as soon as we get you to probably week 1 or 2, probably pretty quick, we'll open up you for doctors so you can see the rest of the site. So, but bear with us on that part.
Cool.
Yeah,
So
just to kind of make some sense of this, the reason we need to have your practice profile is if one of the 3 of us calls on your company or your lead on your behalf, we know who you are, we know where you're located, we can talk like we know you really well because we have your info in front of us. So we're not making you do added homework for no reason. We've got to know a lot about your practice. It's just one form, fill it out, and then if one of the 3 of us calls on your behalf, we can answer. And so it's not like, well, where's your office located? And we go, I'm not sure where my office is located. Like, how stupid would that be? So please fill that thing out. That's a requirement. It's not like maybe do it. You have to do it before we're willing to call on your behalf, and especially if Eric's taking the point. So that company, Technologent, it's in California, but Eric's running it from Philadelphia. That's the support I have with him. We want the same thing for you, but you've got to be on the same page, kind of singing from the same sheet.
Yeah, to roll it out real world for you guys too a little bit is it happens about several times a week for me. What I basically will do is I'll get a lead from one of your maybe your CSK holder, maybe even the doctor themselves, and they'll say, hey, I've got a guy out here in Virginia. I was actually on the line with a pediatrician the other morning when Dane jumped on, and I'll basically schedule for a conference line that we have, and I'll have you and possibly your CSK person on the line. We'll establish the call with the person that we're talking with, get the introductions out of the way, and then you guys just sit back and I'll walk through the programs because I really own the intricacies of the ins and outs of how it works, plus also the buzzwords that I've been doing this for about a year and a half now, talking with insurance brokers. I kind of understand where they're kind of working towards, and I can kind of show them that part too. And I usually do it through an online process also. I'll kind of walk them through with a dummy account or a login account. So we'll automate all that for you guys. And then one of the processes too is that when the actual company's committing, we kind of find out how many they want to commit to so we can price it the right way. We'll handle that part for you guys too, to make sure that it's not putting a whole lot of work back on you guys. We're just going to basically turn around and say, hey, you got a talk coming up. We need to schedule out, a talk with Technologent on a certain date and get you guys in that position.
cool. And guys, one thing that we're really excited about, and I think Brad and Eric and I are just really super psyched about this. We've gotten so many emails and questions about how we work with brokers, and Brad talks about this, but you can work one-on-one, but again, this is the beauty of what Brad's mind does. Why not go right to the source? And so when you're working with a broker, you're working with somebody who represents 60 or 70 companies, and Eric and I have a couple brokers that we work intimately with who literally become our sales force. We've educated them on the challenge so that when they go out and they have their meetings with their clients about wellness programs, guess who they're representing? That's us. So we're going to do a whole seminar Friday and Saturday. It's going to be September 20th and 21st, literally on the back end of working with brokers, the languaging, what they need to hear, what PowerPoints, the education behind the corporate challenge. So a lot of what we did today, we're going to break down in detail at this seminar. We really like you guys to be there. One of the reasons that we're giving a significant price break to our CSK WW docs is because you guys are a family. We want you to be able to language this and represent this properly. So it's $4.95 if you register by September 1st, guys. You get to bring your key holder at no charge, or your spouse, or if you want to bring somebody. So it's significant discount. After September 1st, it's $6.95. It goes up. And then if you're non-8WW or CSK, it's $11.95 or $9.95 before September 1st. But a couple of the things, just I want to show you some of the things that we're going to be going over, is just learning how to get in, learning how to have that conversation with the broker. How do you close your talks for your new patients once you get in and do the corporate talks, right? How to become the go-to wellness specialist. How to use the right languaging with them, right? Because remember, you're going to be competing with other people. How to facilitate this online wellness program so you're not just talking wellness, but you really understand the ins and outs of the program. Because eventually, how would you would like to be, Eric, talking and communicating and being educated in your conversation with a broker or with a really important HR director. Learning how to get into the corporations by leveraging your current contacts within your practice, right? Learning what talks work best, and also learning to do these biometric screenings and the value of what that can offer. So we're pretty stoked about this. It's going to be a kind of all-encompassing program. You're going to leave with a ton of resources to make sure that you guys really understand how working with brokers actually work.
Yeah. Dan, can you go over to the website real quick? I think you had it pulled up, so just go back to your browser. And ACDC's pulled up. Should be up there. There you go.
Yeah, and Docs, just so you know too, when we go through this 8WW challenge online and really master it, we're going to follow that up with some marketing calls that I'll kind of spearhead with you, where we show you how to move this through the process and how to really position it, what the frequently asked questions are. But if we do that, when we put the cart before the horse, and you don't really know what the program is, it would be out of sync. So really my emphasis for you today is just own this material, do the program, go through the videos, because then we can show you how to position it and how to do that. It's actually quite easy once you understand what we have, because the questions can only go so many different ways. And we've said this for years when people would ask me what the corporate skeleton key is and what script do we use. It's not about cold calling an HR director. It's about going above them to a broker who has 50, 60 HR directors and knowing what to say to that person. That's far more valuable. And one of the things these brokers want is this particular program. They want this kind of online challenge. So we'll connect those dots later, but I hope you see the flow of that. You've got to own this first to sell it, and then we'll show you how to position and market it. But you're going to keep hearing insurance broker, insurance broker. The reason is 50, 60 HR directors. You'll have more new patients than you can handle, and then we've done our job.
Yeah, and just so you have an idea, too, as far as insurance brokers run, I mean, there's going to probably be in an average market like maybe Chicago or Philly or somewhere, you're looking at about 150 to 200 insurance brokers, and they each control about 200 companies. So these guys are literally just chomping at the bit to getting someone like you in front of them. But again, we just got to make sure you guys have the tools and how to language those tools to them to get them their interest peaked, instead of just turning them off and saying, oh, he's looking for a bunch of new patients. It's bigger than that for now, guys.
Yeah.
And Dane and Eric, wouldn't you guys agree for most docs, just one broker would be a plethora of new patients?
Oh, we can't, Brad. We can't handle more than 2 brokers. Brad, Eric and I are not actively seeking any more brokers because we can't handle the business that we're getting. And guys, the key with this is, a hammer's a great tool, but a hammer can also be a destructive tool. So we've given you a great tool here, but if you don't know how to use it, you're going to F it up, excuse my language, and that's not going to be good for you, and it's certainly not going to be good for us. So one of the reasons we're doing the ACDC is because we want to spend some time with you guys to role play. We're not just going to be going through this. We're going to be role playing. One of us will be a broker, the other person is going to be a chiropractor, how to language with your patients when you're trying to get into their corporations and find out who their HR directors. So this is going to be hands-on stuff, and this is the website that we developed out for you guys. It's called the ACDC Experience, and it's how you can sign up. As you can see, we're having this at the Drake Hotel, and we can only hold about 80 people, so we're limiting it to 50 offices, figuring about 30 chiropractors are going to bring somebody. So if you're interested in registering, please register fast. I think this is going to fill up really quick. And I want to thank everybody for being on. We got a couple minutes. What I'd love to do, we got 3 great minds here. So please, if you have any questions, raise your hand or just ask the question in the question box. And why don't we just, if you don't mind, Brad, why don't we just field a couple questions?
Yep.
And if you have a mic on your computer, guys, what you can do is just raise your hand and I'll unmute you, and you can actually ask the question live. Let's see. I see a question. Let's see here. I don't see any hands going up. We must have done a pretty good job answering all the questions.
My request is if we do the role playing for ACDC, Dane, you put on a skirt and a wig.
Nice.
No doubt, dude. and I'll tell you what, I'm not wearing underwear either.
Hey, somebody come up with a question. Come on.
I know, please. I know. If you've seen the
This is how
video,
we fill up airtime.
yeah, if you've seen a video with Dane and our parent insurance broker Amy, you'll understand where Brad's going with that.
Oh my God. Well, I tell you what, ever since I've been working with Dr. Eric for the past couple of years, my ass is actually getting larger because my glutes are getting larger. So I probably actually would be proud to not wear underwear.
There you go. Hey.
Somebody's got to have a question. Break this up. Somebody.
No kidding. Just to clarify, too, real quick, I'm going to get the email list from Dane. Actually, I'll log into my go-to side on my side. I'll get the email list of people that have been on this call so I can go ahead and enroll you guys. So keep an eye out for 2 emails. One, you're going to get an email from the registration side of it to get you registered into the actual challenge program itself. And then also you're getting started through the intro for the corporate. Log in, get moving. If you want to add some staff to this, you want to get your CSK person involved, you want to get your office manager, your trainers, go ahead and email me. It's Dr. Eric at 8ww.com, DRERIC at 8ww.com. And I can go ahead and get a couple of people enrolled that you want to get going forward that maybe weren't on the call today with you guys. You wanted them to experience it because they're going to have some part of it. When I mean part of it, it might be a trainer that's languaging some emails back and forth. They might want to know it. It might be a CSK holder or it might be an office manager for you. Just get them over to me so I get them enrolled. And then, again, make sure you go over and check out the acdcexperience.com. And there's a Buy Now button on there somewhere that you can actually go ahead and get yourself enrolled. Like I said, we're going to cap it at about 50 offices total.
And somebody asked, in the future, will there be a webinar related to the talk in Chicago? And actually, we are doing a webinar next Thursday. Brad and Eric and I are going to do a webinar just kind of going over a summary of what we'll be talking about in Chicago. So look out for that, guys. I'm pretty sure that Shannon maybe already sent that out. I'll be sending that out within probably a day or two. So just be on the heads up for that. It's going to be an ACDC webinar, so you'll see that, and that's what we're going to be covering.
Yeah, and then we're also going to be doing weekly trainings on Thursdays. We're still working through some of the scheduling parts, but I'll be handling the training. I think, Brad, you're going to do some of the marketing pieces again, and we'll get those rolled out. So look for weekly. You'll still get an email for GoToWebinar or GoToMeetings to get you guys supported during this next couple of weeks for you guys with the program.
Yeah, and what's key, I think, too, docs, is realize we're doing this. You know, that company of 117, that's down the street. That's a company in my backyard. The school district of, over 3,000 people, Dane and Eric are working through that process. These are things we're doing with companies. We have other doctors with 8 people in a company doing this corporate challenge. So you guys are the 4th class to come through it. This is something we're teaching you from experience. We're showing you what we know. We're rolling up years of knowledge and, trial and error into this to really put you on the fast track. This is where the puck is going. It's going to be an exponential way to grow your practice. And we've not only got the theory to back it up, but we've got the results, the live results, to go with it, where there's more new patients than you can handle. All you really need is one, or as Dane said, 2 brokers, and they can't even keep up. This is a real exponential way to explode your practice. So I'm in Scotland on this call right now, so obviously we're all committed to this process. The fact that Eric's going to basically hold your hand, walk you through this, we're going to make sure you understand this to present it. And in the closing, whether it's Eric, Dane, or myself, what we're trying to tell you is we will call those companies for you. So you build it up, you fill out the general information, and we'll tell you what that is. We can even close it for you. So you don't even have to sell it. So we built it. You don't have to sell it. You're going to be the beneficiary. I hope you're as excited as we are, because this is really going to fulfill your practices. This idea is genius, and it just keeps getting better.
Cool, guys. So one last question, guys, and we'll wrap it up. It says, at the 8WW intro, is chiropractic and 8WW presented as a package? Can someone opt for one and not the other? Well, I would say to answer that question, and Eric, you may have a different spin on this, but by the time you're doing the 8 Weeks to Wellness online challenge introduction, they're already committed. They're already in. So you would probably be doing other lunch and learns to get new patients, to establish that relationship. And then once the company is ready to do the online platform, the 8 Weeks to Wellness online challenge orientation is going to be something that the people they're there because they're actually doing the program.
Yeah, what I try to do is a lot of my talks is I try to go into what our basic wow, talking about just the continuum of health and sickness and disease, and just kind of go into general talk, but always kind of wrap up with the fact that we have that portal there to support myself and the back end of the high tech side of it.
Cool. So Brad, have a Guinness for all of us, or 2, or maybe 3, and enjoy yourself over there. And guys, we'll talk to you. We'll be on another training webinar in maybe 2 weeks. So for Dr. Brad and Dr. Eric and myself, guys, it was awesome. This is recorded. If you want a copy of this, please just reach out to us and ask us for it. And then the last thing, guys, is we put a lot of hard work into this. So we would love for your feedback on this. We want to make it better. So reach out to Dr. Brad or Dr. Eric, myself, through Facebook, or post something on Facebook. Ask us questions. We're just, we feel like we're on the cutting edge. I've not seen anything close to this in our profession that has such huge implications down the road. But we certainly, as you guys being our team, maybe there's certain things that we can enhance. So please get us any feedback.
Perfect. All right, guys.
Take care.
See ya.